Hi, and welcome to Insuring Hotels. This is the first part of the series, and in this first section, we're going to talk about something that I think is the critical first step in insuring or underwriting any type of risk, and that is to properly classify a risk. It may seem simple, hotel's a hotel, motel's motel, but there are several classifications and there's several different ways to kind of approach the account. And it's critical that you first get the classification right. If you don't get the classification right, it's going to be very difficult to figure out what an appropriate price is and just what you really need to do from an underwriting perspective. Or if you're an agent, just when will you know that you're getting a fair price? So anyway, I hope you enjoy this part one of insuring hotels and motels. Thank you. Welcome to part one of insuring hotels and other accommodation risks. Part one, how to classify risks. I'm Rick Faber, co-founder of Underwriters Resource. The SIC code for hotels and motels is 7011, but the standard industrial classification system actually has a pretty broad definition for hotels and basically includes anything that provides lodging and meals to the general public. Classifications under SIC code 7011 would include RV parks, bed and breakfast inns, cabins and cottages, casino hotels, hostels, hotels and motels, excluding apartment hotels and resorts. But our focus in these videos is going to be a bit narrower. In these videos, we're going to be talking about classifying hotels and motels correctly, casinos, bed and breakfasts, apartment hotels, and vacation rentals. Let's get a bit more granular as far as defining the classifications. We're going to work on hotels and motels first. If you look at Webster's dictionary, they will define a hotel as an establishment providing accommodations and or meals and other services for travelers and tourists. They go on to define a motel as a roadside hotel designed primarily for motorists, typically having rooms arranged in a low building and parking directly outside. But we're not really interested in what Webster defines hotels and motels as. We're really more interested in exactly how the ISO defines hotels. And they define hotels and motels to include motor inns, tourist courts, tourist cabins, and other similar risks whose business is primarily providing lodging accommodations for transients, but this classification does not apply to apartment hotels. The ISO further refines the classifications for hotels and motels into a series of characteristics that groups them into more similar risk or loss potential classifications. For instance, the first thing they do is they're going to separate high-rise versus low-rise hotels. The reason there is high-rise hotels represent more complexities in regard to things along the lines of life safety exposures. Secondly, the presence of pools or beaches. If there's a presence of a pool or beach, the potential losses for a hotel with a pool or beach is much different than one without. Therefore, we have four basic hotel and motel classes. Two for low-rise operations, one for with pools and one for without pools. And the breakoff there is less than 4 stories. Anything over 4 stories is considered a high-rise. And they have 2 classifications for those high-rise hotels, one again with pools and one again without pools. There are some operations that are typically part of almost any hotel or motel risk. So the ISO has gone ahead and actually included a lot of those operations within the hotel motel class. And those operations are room rentals, meeting rooms including catering, gift shops but only when operated by the insured, miscellaneous sales, space rental, owned canoes and rowboats, and users of golf carts. Now, this means that there is no separate rating for these operations and no necessary additional premium. ISO has also identified some operations, though commonly part of a hotel or motel, are not included within the rate and need to be either excluded or charged for separately. Those are professional services such as spas, boats other than owned canoes or rowboats, gasoline sales, golf courses if the receipts are separate, health and exercise facilities that are for charge, restaurants that are operated by the insured, ski lifts and tows. For all of these classes, separate rates and premiums will apply. Casinos are an entirely different animal, and as such, ISO treats them separately. But before we get into the casinos class, I want to talk about what is not considered a casino. In order to be considered a casino, an operation has to have the board games. If they just have the slot machines, they are not considered a casino, and they should be classified as an amusement center for that operation. Now, when something has the games like blackjack and poker and things of that nature, it is considered a casino. And when it is classified as a casino, that classification applies to all the premises and operations of the insured casino. And that would include things like the hotel. So a casino class is really similar to a hotel class. Now, also, when you do have that class and when you're rating for it, it's payroll based, and you include the payroll for all the employees of the named insureds. The casino and class exposure, it embraces a lot of those there's a lot of operations that go on in casinos. And for example, it embraces things like the actual gambling, hotel, motel room accommodations, restaurants and bars and theaters, sports events, entertainment, hospitality operations, including gifts and transportation services, conventions, exhibits, retail establishments, security guards, security monitoring operations, and even credit authorizing and checking. So it's really a very broad class. When something falls within the casino class, it covers such a wide variety of operations that you would expect to see at a casino. There's a couple other related classifications that I want to point out to the listeners. And there are two hotel and motel classes which are designed for lesser's risk only. Now, when I say lesser's risk only, basically what you have is you have the owner of the building and they actually lease the building out, similar to any other lessor operation where they're leasing it out to somebody who actually owns and operates the hotels. So it's really, like it says, it's a lesser's risk only, and similar to the hotel motel class, they do separate it from the high-rise and the low-rise hotels. And also similar to the hotel classifications, it has similar inclusions and exclusions on what would be covered under this classification. We're going to spend some time talking now a little bit about apartment hotels, because that class kind of overlaps a little bit with the traditional hotel or motel class. If we go to the dictionary for a definition, they're going to define an apartment hotel as a home in a motel that provides suites on a monthly basis instead of on a nightly basis. Now, we see in the hotel motel industries places like the Residence Inn or Homewood Suites or extended stay hotel where they kind of blur the line a little bit, and they're sort of like an apartment hotel but more like a hotel or motel. So what is the dividing line? And ISO recognizes the fact that there is going to be some blending, and basically ISO sets the dividing line at 15%. If more than 15% of the rentals are daily, then it's a hotel motel. Similar to the hotel motel class, ISO breaks out the apartment hotels between high rise and low rise. If it's less than 4 stories, it's considered a low rise apartment hotel, if it's 4 stories or more, then there's a high-rise class. Now, I will also say that with the apartment hotels, they do not include those items that you saw included within a hotel motel, things like swimming pools. And if they have a swimming pool, that's something you'd have to separately rate for, or if they have a workout facility, that is something as well. So the apartment hotel classes really just apply to the rental of the rooms. Breakfasts, they started appearing in the United States in the late 1970s. In the 1980s and 1990s, they began to increase dramatically in their numbers. And now there's over 17,000 bed and breakfasts in the United States. So what delineates a bed and breakfast from a hotel or motel, or even from a vacation rental? So let's look at some of the definitions of what a bed and breakfast is. The dictionary definition says it's a place where guests can pay to stay in someone's home and receiving a morning meal. The ISO definition, which is the definition that we're really concerned with, they say that a bed and breakfast must meet the following criteria. And the first criteria is that it must be occupied by an owner, manager, or caretaker. Next, it can only provide up to 10 guest rooms. If it's over 10 guest rooms, it would be a hotel or motel. And meals have to be provided at no additional charge. Now, there can be some bed and breakfasts that will provide other meals and they will charge for them. If that's the case, then you would charge separately for those meals under the restaurant class. Let's just kind of look at some differences of some of the hotels that we've seen around and look at them as far as classifying them as either hotel, B&B, or an apartment hotel. Let's take the Residence Inn, for example. Residence Inn, they're pretty clearly a hotel or motel. While they may do some monthly rentals, it's really a very, very small portion of what they do. Let's think about the extended stay America hotels. They are probably still fall within the hotel motel class rather than the apartment hotel class for a couple reasons. Yes, they probably have more long stay people there, but you're probably looking more at people that are staying maybe 2 or 3 weeks. From a monthly rental perspective, it's hard to believe that only 15% of their rentals would be daily or nightly or shorter than a month. So they would more likely fall within the hotel motel class. Now let's think about a local hotel motel or apartment hotel here in the Phoenix area, Woodspring Suites. You look there and you look at the pricing. They do have a per night rate, but you're getting down to rates that are probably more like an apartment rate if you look at them on a monthly basis. So my guess is these may still be on the hotel side, but you're getting closer and closer to that 15% threshold that would make them an apartment hotel. That being at least 85% of the rentals are monthly rentals as opposed to nightly or shorter than a month. A vacation rental, according to Wikipedia, is renting out a furnished apartment, house, or professionally managed resort condominium complex on a temporary basis to tourists as an alternative to a hotel. So the question becomes, how should we classify these risks? Should we use a dwelling one family? Or should we go toward the hotel motel? Or is either one acceptable? Well, let's think about it. Let's first think about the dwelling one family lesser risk only class, 63010. ISO defines a class to include dwellings or apartments owned by corporations and similar insurers who allow employees or others to occupy the dwelling with or without leasing or renting. This classification also applies to time-sharing apartment units owned by corporations for exclusively use by their executives and other employees. Now, this classification probably would fit. But as an underwriter, the problem I have with using this class is the words lesser's risk only. When I think of lesser's risk only, I'm thinking about classes that basically they turn over that premises to somebody else, and that premises is actually run and managed and operated by that entity. With a vacation rental, that's really not the case. You're basically turning over a room for people to use similar to a hotel. As an underwriter, I may be more geared toward using the hotel and motel class because these vacation rentals are rented on a short-term basis, similar to how a hotel room is. And let's revisit the ISO definition of hotel or motels. They say this classification includes motor inns, tourist courts, tourist cabins, and other similar risks whose business is primarily providing lodging accommodations for transients. I think the key word there is transients. Vacation rentals are people renting for a short-term vacation. They are transient versus the dwelling class, which really contemplates more of a long-term rental. We've come to the end of part one of insuring hotels and motels, where we have discussed about how to classify properly hotel and motel and other types of accommodation risks. In part two, we'll be discussing structuring general liability coverage. If you have any questions about this subject matter in this video, please leave them in the comments section below or email us at richard.uwresource@cox.net. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you. The subject matter in this video is approved for CE credits in several states and available for in-house classes. If you are interested in scheduling an in-house CE session with us, please contact us via email at richard.uwresource@cox.net. Thank you for watching.